Good morning everyone, how are you all doing? I'm Mysticle and today I'll be bringing you the latest in AR and VR news. We have quite a few interesting topics today, so without any further ado, let's just get right into the video. The first piece of information that we have is on Meta's brand new wide motion mode. The Quest 3 wide motion mode expands your hand tracking volume by tracking your arms too. It does this by constantly running inside-out upper body tracking in the background. When a hand is occluded or out of view of all the tracking cameras, wide motion mode will estimate the hand position based on the rest of your arm. So in the past, when your hands were out of view of the cameras, well, they would either just disappear or glitch out. Now apparently Meta is going to use the part of your arm that the cameras can see in order to estimate where your hands should be. And that is incredibly impressive and should help out a lot when using hand tracking for games. Of course, the movement of your fingers can't be estimated this way, so fingers will remain frozen until the hand comes back into view of a tracking camera. Handling this could be a challenge for developers in games. The wide motion mode also can't be used with multimodal mode. As with the inside-out body tracking features that powers it, wide motion mode only works with the Quest 3, though Meta notes it will also work on all future headsets. So it also doesn't work on older devices. For example, maybe you're throwing something and your hand goes back here. Well, the cameras can't see it back here, but they know it was closed before you moved it back. Then when it comes back into view and you let go, your fingers become unfrozen and the object flies away, if you get what I'm trying to say. It's kind of a disappointment that this won't work with multimodal, but maybe that will be added in the future. Do you know what will most definitely be added in the future? Neural wristbands, and I actually have one right here. This is the Myo armband. Meta actually bought out the company that created these, and Myo is no more. What these are is this specifically right here is an EMG wristband. It's really impressive, and it was even more impressive for back in the day. As a matter of fact, I used to be able to connect that to my phone and calibrate it, and I would be able to swap tracks just like this, change my volume like this, or pause and play like this. This one could already track singular finger movements, as we know from people testing it on Twitter. Someone even made a Steam VR driver with one of these and calibrated it enough to the point where it could emulate index controllers. Incredibly impressive, but Meta is trying to get these to the point where this will be your main input for virtual and augmented reality. You won't actually need controllers, and you won't have to rely on cameras for finger and hand tracking, so you won't have to worry about occlusion. We will be wearing these. Appearing on the Morning Brew daily talk show on Friday, Mark Zuckerberg said we're actually kind of close to having something here that we're going to have in a product in the next few years. In late 2019, Meta acquired a New York-based startup called Control Labs, which had been working on the idea of a finger tracking wristband since at least 2015, though an early 2019 patent filing suggests Facebook was already working on it too internally, and Control Labs are actually the creators behind the Myo armband here. So I am awaiting this future, and I am incredibly happy that Meta is still working on it. Let me know what you think about neural input devices. Is this something that you'd be willing to wear? Perhaps if it was made a lot smaller, and do you think that it will ever surpass controllers? Multimodal foot tracking is something funny I just put into the comment section of the previous video, where we found out that multimodal is coming out of experimental and that you can actually track both hands and controllers at the same time. I pinned a comment asking, just mostly as a joke, whether you think it would be possible to use multimodal for full body tracking with cursed controllers strapped to your feet. This is something we've tried before, but in a much dumber way, and apparently Luna had the same idea. As on Twitter, unhinged foot tracking method is actually not as unhinged when used with Touch Pro. And it makes perfect sense actually, because the unhinged foot tracking with non-Touch Pro controllers, well, the second your feet go out of the view of the cameras, you're not going to be able to track anything with those controllers. But Quest Pro controllers, well, those have cameras right on them, so it kind of makes sense, and they become sort of like the HTC Vive Ultimate body trackers, where they track themselves, and it seems to work quite well actually. Is this something that games might be able to utilize in the future? Are we going to begin seeing accessories that allow us to strap our VR controllers to our feet. I don't personally think so, but I do think that it's a pretty fun experiment that at least someone got to try. Now we've got the Hoverboard, and from mixed news, this hoverboard is designed to facilitate movement in virtual reality. We've seen a bunch of different things throughout the years helping us with movement in VR, especially in smaller spaces where people would actually like to get the feeling of movement but can't necessarily run or walk around their physical space. We've seen treadmills, and we've seen accessories that we can put onto our feet to kind of walk and move about, and that will translate the movement into virtual reality. Now, apparently, we've got a hoverboard. Wouldn't it be cool if you could use the concept of a hoverboard where you float through space with 2 feet and slight movement as a digital input, asks Rick Ted in an interview with his former university. At this point, the inventor and 2 colleagues have long since turned their idea into reality and are in the process of bringing the glider to market. This is a different take on movement, as it isn't so much natural, it's a relief for gamers' hands apparently. The developers want to offer gamers a way to take the strain off their hands during long gaming sessions and transfer certain inputs from the game and VR controllers to their feet. Functions such as muting other players in multiplayer games, push to talk, or taking screenshots can be triggered with your toes. That is quite interesting and could be even more interesting for accessibility. I actually see this coming in quite handy in certain environments. Apple is now boasting about having 1,000 plus apps available on the Vision Pro, completely native. Need a floating calculator on your living room wall? Well, there's an app for that. Well, actually, there are now several apps for that on the Vision Pro, as the company confirmed its first mixed reality headset is now packing over 1,000 native Vision OS apps. Apple's SVP of marketing posted on Twitter recently that the App Store now has over 1,000 plus apps designed for the Vision Pro, a fair sight more than the 600 apps reported by the company right before the headset's launch on February 2nd. Quite impressive that they've jumped this far in such a short amount of time, and hopefully we continue seeing that library grow. As a lot of you probably know, it's the library of apps that makes or breaks a headset for a lot of people. As if you're not using it for PC VR, well then you're stuck with what is on the device. And if it isn't a lot, then people might look away from it. Here's an interesting concept. Vive hopes to change things up by letting you build muscle with the help of its upcoming XR glove, and eventually its own standalone XR headset too. That is a different kind of concept. We haven't seen a fitness-oriented headset yet. Founded by serial VR fitness entrepreneur 6Live, the new startup, Vi, announced late last week it's building a glove that you can wear while pumping iron, letting you automatically do things like log reps and keep track of barbell weights. The company isn't speaking in depth about the gloves for now. However, Vi's demo video seems to suggest it's still in early prototyping stages, with the render promising a sleeker device. Very, very interesting. I'm all for working out in virtual reality, and there's tons of titles that do that right now. I would like to see more accessories coming out for fitness and virtual reality, as I know quite a few people are actually very, very much interested in this, including my mom. My mom actually did quite a bit of fitness in VR when I was back in Ireland, and I do think that it's a concept that just works. And finally, Mozilla Hubs is shutting down. However, they've done it correctly. They will be handing it over to the community. WebXR social networking framework Hubs has lost its biggest sponsor, Mozilla, after 6 years of effort. The Mozilla Hubs service, pitched as private virtual 3D worlds in your browser, is being wound up against the team maintaining it, even if underlying technology lives on with the community support as an open source project on GitHub. WebXR experiences with hand tracking are some of the first truly cross-platform worlds you can visit from both an Apple Vision Pro and Meta Quest. WebXR as a technology is still in its infancy, but Mozilla Hubs represented a bright spot for the concept of web-based rooms that you could meet in across different types of devices with very little setup involved. WebXR is actually a really cool piece of technology. There's actually a version of Beat Saber that you can play online inside your web browser using WebXR, and that plays on basically any device that uses WebXR. WebXR, I believe, is actually the first piece of tech, as Upload VR says here, that will work across any device. No porting required as long as that device supports WebXR, which is most of them nowadays. So it is really, really cool seeing these WebXR apps on the internet that just work across everything. It's what I want to see in the future, a truly interconnected world that you can join and enter no matter which device you're in. And now that Hubs is being open sourced, this may or may not become a reality, depending on what the community does with it. And I do think Mozilla is going the right way about this, open sourcing the project instead of killing it off. We've seen this happen to other games and titles in the past, and we've seen how upset the community can get about this. So I do think they're doing the right thing, and I cannot wait to see what comes of this. That's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do leave a like. If you disliked it, I guess the button works too, but let me know why down below. If you guys want to chat about any of this, the comment section is down below. Check out our Discord, check out our Reddit. I want to see you posting your spicy memes on there. And thank you so much to all the Patreons supporting this channel. You guys are incredible, amazing. Thank you so much to anyone else that is using super thanks or any other way of supporting the channel. Seriously, much love. And if you guys want to be notified of future content coming up on the channel, make sure to smack the subscribe button with your forehead, ding my bell. Let's see you again in the next video. Peace.